If you want to know about cancelled Spider-Man projects, like a Man-Spider movie, a movie about Tobey vs. Andrew, and other cancelled Spider-Man projects, like remasters of Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, be sure to watch the video. Well, hello there, Spoiler Dash here. I have done some Spider-Man icebergs by now, and while searching information for them, I found that Spider-Man might be the character with most cancelled projects. That's why today I want to talk about every single cancelled Spider-Man project that I found so far. And before starting the video, give me a like, be sure to click the subscribe button, and leave in the comments which cancelled Spider-Man project would you have liked to see the most. Thank you so much for watching, and with that out of the way, let's begin! Let's start with movies first. I think that it will be best if we start in chronological order. This film started because in 1985, Marvel wanted to make a movie about Spider-Man, but they didn't know how. So, they gave the rights to Canon Films. The first draft of their movie was to make a film where Peter Parker turns into a big tarantula. Yeah, not a great idea to introduce Spider-Man to the world. After that, they wanted to make a proper Spider-Man movie with Doc Ock as a main villain and Tom Cruise as Spider-Man, but the movie was cancelled because they couldn't decide what to film, and eventually they ran out of money. We have some promotionals about this movie, but it never got made. Get this, even before we got a proper Spider-Man movie with Sam Raimi, we could have got a Venom movie first. New Line Cinema was going to make a Venom movie in 1997. The script was written by David S. Goyer. Eddie Brock was going to be played by Dolph Lundgren, better known as the guy who killed Apollo Creed. The thing is that this would have been a Venom origin story, and New Line Cinema didn't have the rights of Spider-Man. They could only use Venom and some other symbiotes, so the main villain was going to be Carnage. And the love interest in this movie was Dr. Kafka. It's insane how similar this movie sounds to the recent Venom films, but just imagine a world without the Raimi films, and with Venom taking Spider-Man's place. Sounds weird. It's weird talking about this one, but here we go. James Cameron's Spider-Man feels like talking about that family member that no one wants to mention. To start, this film wasn't set to be E for everyone. It had a lot of sex-related issues. Peter Parker was supposed to be an incel. Spider-Man was going to call Electro a motherfucker at some point. And it was going to have a sex scene between Peter and MJ under the Brooklyn Bridge. Spider-Man was going to be played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and the rest of the cast is not entirely clear. And as I already mentioned, the main villain was going to be Electro, but Sandman was going to have a small apparition, and Doc Ock was supposed to be teased for a sequel. It doesn't sound as an horrible movie, but it's a bit off considering that it was supposed to be a Spider-Man movie. David Fincher is one of my favorite directors, with movies like Fight Club and The Social Network, so a Spider-Man movie directed by him is something that I would like to see. Almost before Sam Raimi, David Fincher almost directed the first Spider-Man movie, but his ideas were a bit off. To start, the movie was set to be a musical taken in one shot, and it was going to be inspired mainly in the Gwen Stacy's Dead comic. We would have seen Spider-Man's origin and his rivalry with the Green Goblin. I don't know why I get turned off the dark vibes from this one. To the surprise of no one, this movie was cancelled. Now we are in the ones that hurt. Spider-Man 4 was set to be released on May 6, 2011. We know a fair amount of things about this movie. The main villain was going to be the Vulture, and Mysterio was going to have a cameo played by Bruce Campbell. Also, we know that Anne Hathaway auditioned to play Black Cat, so maybe she was going to be in the movie. Although I don't think that we would have seen her as a new love interest. I think that she was going to take a role of Spider-Man's friend and confidant, like in the Spider-Man 2 game and Spider-Man PSX, and most notably in the comics, where her and Spider-Man are friends more than lovers. Also, we could have seen a redesign of the Raimi suit into something more classic, but these are just concept arts. Spider-Man 4 was cancelled because of studio interference, a topic that we'll see a lot with Sony. Spider-Man 4 might be the first void that many of us felt regarding cancelled Spider-Man projects. Another movie that was cancelled because of studio interference, and also because Andrew Garfield didn't show up to a Sony meeting in Brazil, The Amazing Spider-Man 3. We know a few things about this movie thanks to the actor Dennis Leary, who plays Captain Stacy in the movies. Peter Parker will have found a formula to bring back people from death, so characters like Gwen Stacy, Captain Stacy, and Uncle Ben will have come back. It is unclear if this is the case, but maybe the Jackal will have appeared and steal Peter's formula, and maybe make a Peter's clone. Unlike popular belief, The Amazing Spider-Man 3 wouldn't have been about the symbiote or the Sinister Six, it would have been an adaptation of the Clone Saga. I don't know how I feel about this. The Clone Saga is not from my favorite comics, but it sounds interesting nevertheless. I could make an entry for every single one of these projects, but I don't feel like it. I don't have any emotion towards these cancelled projects because of one reason. These are the most blatant cash grabs ever. We know that Sony wanted to make a movie about Venom, the Sinister Six, Agent Venom, Black Cat and Silver Sable, Morbius, Kraven, Madame Web, and a movie about Aunt May? If you paid attention, you know that 2 of these projects are now real, and some are being developed, but not in the way that Sony intended. Originally, everything was going to be connected to the Amazing Spider-Man franchise, but they cancelled that because of their inability of letting the directors do their jobs and make movies. Now, without a Spider-Man of their own, none of these projects will work, because what makes Spider-Man villains good is exactly their connection with Spider-Man. The only one, and I mean it, the only one that mildly works without Spider-Man is Venom. Maybe their own cinematic universe about Spider-Man characters would have worked with, you guessed it, Spider-Man. And how desperate for money you have to be to want to make a movie about Aunt May of all things. What's next? A movie about a Spider-Man villain that no one knows about, like El Muerto? Honestly, Across the Spider-Verse wouldn't have delayed if all the money that goes into these projects went into hiring talented people to make good Spider-Man movies. Venom is personally where I draw the line. I don't want movies about Spider-Man villains without Spider-Man. I didn't see Morbius, I won't see Madame Web, neither Kraven the Hunter, and the other 1,000 projects that Sony has in store. And neither should you. You could make better use with your money like burning it. Maybe in a couple years, I'll make another video about how these movies were cancelled. Sorry, I needed to rant a little. Where were we? Oh yeah. In 2014, the Sony leak happened. It basically leaked a lot of projects from Sony. A lot came with information, but from this one, we just have the title, and its name is Spider-Man vs. The Amazing Spider-Man. We don't have much information other than that. But this means that Sony was planning on a multiverse movie all the way back in 2014, which is insane because Tom Holland wasn't even a thing back then. Also, we could speculate a bit about what this movie could have been. I don't think that it was going to be a movie about Toby vs. Andrew as such. Maybe it was going to be like Batman, Superman, Public Enemies, where the title makes you think that Superman and Batman are going to fight, but it's actually Batman and Superman versus Lex Luthor. So maybe Toby and Andrew were going to fight the Green Goblin together. This movie was cancelled, and now we have No Way Home instead, which I think it's better. Okay, now let's talk about games. Spider-Man: The Venom Factor was being developed by Sapphire, and it was going to be released on PC in 1997. It was going to be inspired on the comic of the same name, Spider-Man the Venom Factor. The comic narrates a story about how a creature that looks like Venom murders innocent people. So Spider-Man helps Venom clean his name, while they also fight the Hobgoblin. We have this small cutscene about how the game could have looked like. It looks kinda creepy to say the least. As interesting as it sounds, it was cancelled. Ultimate Spider-Man 2 was listed as one of many games that Treyarch was going to develop, but it was cancelled because the first game didn't sell as much as they were expecting. But we have some information about what Ultimate Spider-Man 2 could have been. According to Chris Salazar, art director of the game, he said that the game was set to be in winter, and everything was going to be covered in snow. The city would have been expanded and you could visit places like Coney Island. This time the Green Goblin would have been the second playable character instead of Venom. It's a shame that this one was cancelled, because I really like the first one. I already talked a lot about this cancelled game on my channel, so let's do it quick. Spider-Man 4 was set to be released along with the movie, but both were cancelled. It reached an advanced stage of development. There are versions for both the Nintendo Wii and Xbox 360 that you can play on your PC with an emulator if you dig good enough. The Xbox 360 version of the game uses the same engine as Prototype, which is rumored it was going to be a game about Venom. Spider-Man Classic was intended to be the sequel of Spider-Man Web of Shadows. The main villains were going to be Mysterio and Carnage, and it was planned to have a lot of Spider-Man Classic villains. Also, you could play as Spider-Man and Wolverine, which sounds awesome. Sadly, this game was cancelled because the division that developed Web of Shadows was shut down. But Activision used a lot of ideas and concepts of this game in the video game Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, like Mysterio's design. In 2018, Activision wanted to make ports of old Marvel games on new systems like the Nintendo Switch, Xbox One and PlayStation 4, an idea that Marvel agreed to. So, the first games that were going to receive this treatment were Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions and Edge of Time, and even older games like Web of Shadows were set to be remastered at a later date. But it is said that Activision also wanted to make new Marvel games, to which Marvel said no. It is unknown what happened after, but maybe because of the disagreement, Activision stopped development of these remasters. Which is sad, because Shattered Dimensions is a great game that every Spider-Man fan should play, and it is not available for purchase right now, so we'll have to wait to see if any of these games gets remastered soon. Okay, now let's talk about cancelled Spider-Man cartoons really quick. First, the Spider-Man Unlimited cartoon had a different concept at its beginning. Originally, it was going to be a cartoon adapting the first 12 issues of The Amazing Spider-Man. It was going to be in a stop motion. But they couldn't make that cartoon because they couldn't use the Green Goblin, neither the classic Spider-Man suit, because they were making the first Spider-Man movie. So, they switched to making a cartoon about Spider-Man 2099. But that idea was scrapped as well, because Spider-Man 99 was too similar to Batman Beyond. So, we ended up with Spider-Man Unlimited instead, which is not the best Spider-Man cartoon, but it has a certain charm once you learn to like it. No, I'm not talking about the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon that we have today. Spider-Man the New Animated Series was supposed to be an adaptation of the first Ultimate Spider-Man comics. But again, because of the Sam Raimi movie, they weren't able to make the cartoon that they wanted, and instead they made a cartoon that was connected to the first Spider-Man movie. So they made the New Animated Series instead, so people won't get confused. It's a shame that this one was cancelled, because we have a lot of concept art and it looks great to say the least. Hopefully, we'll get a good Spider-Man cartoon soon. This is not a cancelled cartoon. This would qualify as lost media. In 1990, the Learning Corporation of America was supposed to release 4 clips of educational Spider-Man tapes, made by Coronet MTI Film. You know this, the classic stuff telling kids to not do drugs and other stuff. There are supposed to be 4 tapes, but we only have one, uploaded by YouTube user Mindless Shelf Indulgence. This tape addresses issues of physical abuse towards children. The video itself is questionable, but ironically funny. Like, this kid named Maria is being abused by her father, and Spider-Man only looks through the window instead of, you know, help. If you want to see it, I'll leave a link in the description. Well, you stayed until the end. And before you leave, I want to give a shout out to some of you. A shout out to Patrick A, Marley, SMPS Gamer, 5050 Dude, Mike Wolkenstein, Lose Yourself, TFA Studios, Doggy Dimensions, McKinley Green, Miguel the Developer, Cooper Plays, Surgical Duke 877, Arju, Pumpkin Knight, Susie Alien, Bra, Nico99, Matthias Hernandez, Hyper, Yanechi Casemiro, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, Sayed Shafiul, again, sorry if I mispronounced your name, Jogn X Deku, Yash Buddha, Cashman Jedi, that guy with good mic, and last but not least, Bimto Mimto. If you want a shoutout in my next video, give me a like, be sure to click the subscribe button, and leave in the comments which cancelled Spider-Man project would you have liked to see the most. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye!